Well, I think number one, your biggest tool in the classroom, I think, is going to be your voice. I think you have to have a clear voice. I think you have to speak slowly, but not so much that it sounds unnatural, but enough that your audience is going to be able to understand you with it still kind of sounding natural. I think you have to remove colloquialisms within your speech. Non-native speakers are just not going to be able to understand that, and you'll lose them. When I first came to Japan, I had quite a strong London accent. And after living here I've lived here for longer than 2 years, but I went back home after 2 years. My mum had said my accent had changed, and I think it might have been down to the fact that when I first came here, no one understood me, especially my students. So I worked really hard on mellowing my accent. So I think being able to speak at a slower pace, being able to speak clearly, is really, really important as well. The number two piece of advice I would give, try your best to understand pop culture within your area, within the country you're living in. I think that's really important, especially when you're designing worksheets or you're designing activities. If, for instance, if you work in Japan, for example, you work in elementary school, if you're making a worksheet, I've fallen prey to this before. I've made worksheets before, and I thought, the kids will absolutely know these characters and they'll know all of these television personalities. No, things go in cycles, and you forget that, and you're like, wow, am I really that old? So I think taking a little bit of time and trying to understand pop culture within your age range of the kids that you're trying to teach is really important. Take a little bit of time and research and find out who is popular, especially anime and television personalities. Then I would probably say number three would be to try and learn the language. Obviously, try not to use that in the classroom, but try and simply, as well as you can. You may be in a situation where your co-teacher isn't able to speak the language you're trying to teach. I think it's really important for you to be able to, even if it's basically accurately trying to get across what you're trying to teach. So that's why I would say, learn some key verbs, learn some key phrases to any country you're trying to come into. I would say that those would be I probably missed some glaring ones, and I'm going to get some in the comments. You should have done this. But those are certainly the things, from talking from my own personal perspective of moving to Japan. That's three things that I really wish I'd known within my first year, and I had to go through some fairly horrific experiences to actually come to those conclusions in some cases. So yeah.